or on Twitch, and yeah. Oh, I'm watching an advert. See if I can hear you. If I can hear you. Hello? If I can hear you. Hello? No, you don't, but I am. Okay. You're not sure why the audio's not. Yeah, but yours isn't. I can't hear you. Yeah, the stream's jerking quite a lot.
it might possibly bring me through now. That is more like it. I think this will work. So as for the frame rate, I'm just literally going to try and tamper with the output quality whilst we have the stream going.
Yeah, the sound works now.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think that was just an issue on my own OBS, so apologies, Matt. Apologies, everyone watching, including Barry,
Oh,
our
John.
first commentator of the stream. Very quick off the mark. So do you want me to put the camera on anyone? So
I'm really enjoying watching Aerox Bobby going around the track. To be honest with you, John, he's taking everything in the right gear. He's driving really smoothly, really cleanly.
Yeah,
so
he's practicing, hasn't he? I've got a good idea that he's hitting his lines. He knows what he's after today.
He definitely has put the practice in. Actually, he's not made a mistake on this lap so far. So it'd be interesting to see what the final sort of standing, or not the final standings, the standings are after this lap, because this has certainly been a clean lap from Bobby as GTR Lucky Sod goes wide into the last corner, which is it's going to cost him dear both on that lap and the next lap. And Bobby really tentative around the last corner there, actually trying to save his clean good lap. So definitely a couple of tenths lost there. Anyway, John, how are you? You know, it's been a week since we've last been on the stream. What have you been up to?
Jeez, well, life is just doing its thing, but it's certainly been interesting leading up to round 2 of the old Maserati Championship, because we've seen a couple of new entrants for this, and also some people that we find out who are actually not going to be competing tonight, Matt. Can you round off a couple of names that we're not going to be seeing in A-Lobby tonight?
Yeah, so I know, well, we'll see when, you know, the qualifying results come in, as I think we've got a bit of an issue with the lobby here at the minute. We might be restarting, possibly. Williams Mitch, massive, you know, participant from last week, took one of the race wins, or was close to winning one of the races last week, and he gave us that titanic battle with Williams RoadRunner, you know, his teammate. And I sort of called it last week that although they were teammates, you know, there's going to be no love lost between those two guys. So he's not available tonight, which is a shame. He did message me to apologise actually, and say that he'll be, you know, catching the stream a bit later, which is great to hear. Other than that, I'm not sure of any of the sort of guys we're expecting in A lobby not to be around. However, we definitely have at least one huge addition to the squad tonight, don't we, John?
Yeah, like, so as you mentioned, like, especially with the likes of Mitch not being able to attend, and also like Lee Campbell as a privateer, GTR Judah DT, he's not going to be competing tonight. So it means that that's a shame. So it means that there's a lot more openings for other people, say from round 1, to like pick up on points that maybe they didn't capitalise on in the last round last week, because there's plenty of frills and spills as we saw in both races. But it does mean that the likes of some new entrants, such as JOTA Commando, he's able to make advantage of ORL's just long-standing traditional format, whereby you can have one drop round in the entire season. And for Commando, he can just consider this as his round 1 effectively. He's definitely got the pace, and he had a really rough run in the Forza RC last year, didn't he, Zermatt?
Yeah, he did. You know, I'm close to Commando. I've known him for a long time. I've raced against him for years, and we're really good friends. And he had a tough time. He had problems with his controllers. He had problems with his internet. He had some problems with, you know, time. You know, he's a father. He's got multiple kids. You know, and a long-standing partner as well to support. So those things take their toll on, you know, during the FRC. But you know, I was lucky enough to sit next to him in Seattle actually, and you know, we had a great time racing against each other, albeit not at the front where Commandos used to be in, but um, I'm hoping he recently he's had some really strong races. We've seen in the Le Mans eSports event that both offline and online offline using a wheel and online using a controller. That was a mouthful to say. That he's been really strong and really quick, really consistent, and actually, when he puts in the effort, he is unstoppable almost. If everything goes his way, he's so fast, especially in the higher class cars and also front wheel drives. That I'm excited to see him race tonight. I really am, John. I'm going to back him for being right up there.
I think we can definitely expect Commando to be putting in not just some really impressive laps for qualifying, but when it comes to the actual races himself, like he's more than qualified to try and take a podium spot, if not a win. Like as we mentioned at Road Atlanta last week, we already had like 5 people that could take the win of any race. The Williams teams themselves, with Mitch, RoadRunner, Mellish. Then we had Lee Campbell, of course Bowkett, who set pole last week, but then because of TCS he stalled off the line, and next thing we knew he lost his opportunity. So he's probably treating this as a bit of a comeback. It's going to be his opportunity to take revenge on the Williams squad. He did put a video up of one of his faster laps whilst in practice today, and it did actually look absolutely blinding. I think it was on like a 2:04 flat. Last week we saw how big was the difference between pole and 16th for ALB in quali? Was it about 1.5 seconds or a little bit over 1 second?
Yeah, it was quite a lot actually for a short track, wasn't it? And it's difficult to sort of guesstimate what it's going to be like this week because yes, Sebring's a longer track. It's got more corners, way more corners, but you've got a lot more time between each little section. You can think about what you're doing. You can spot your braking point. And actually, personally, I find this track, closer in times, more competitive than Road Atlanta. Because last time we discussed about the downhill section, how you keep that momentum, and if you lose it, you're out of sync for the whole section. And you just lose time all the way down and back up that hill. Here, if you miss your braking point or you don't get on the power quite as cleanly as you should, there aren't really that many sections that flow. It's more of a stop-start acceleration for base track. So there's a few key areas, obviously, like in every track, but it's not such a momentum-based track. And if you miss one section, if you mess one section up, it's easier to regain composure, to think about what you're doing a bit more and concentrate on the next section because you've got some time to think about it down the straight. So we'll ride on board with a few people in a second to really see sort of how they're getting on in qualifying. But the fastest we've got so far actually is Bobby on a 2:06.5, so not quite the sort of pace we've seen from Bowkett, but a good start. It's only their first fly, so they might be getting a banker in, John.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility because as you said, with Road Atlanta, there's so many elevation changes, and you have inwards camber, outwards camber on the corner. So it means that if you're the slightest bit off point, you could lose as much as half a second for the next section. Whereas Sebring, this is as flat of a track as you could get, arguably the flattest track in the entire game. You just need to get your braking points sorted, get that car rotation, just like Lucky's trying to do right here, and then just shoot it out as an arrow. And I think it's going to be very interesting in terms of people trying to do that banker lap, if you will, because I think you could probably go just half a second slower, and that could be considered your safe lap around here. Obviously, if you're running something like TCS and you happen to run over one of these curves, then you're in trouble because the car's just going to bog completely down. But other than that, this certainly seems like a much friendlier circuit in terms of just trying to hit your apexes like you did in practice, and then even if you're within half a second of your best, you could be pretty happy with that, as opposed to Road Atlanta. If you're not on form in them 5 laps, you could be almost an entire second off. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. Whoa! Just coming out of the second to last turn there, we saw Lucky Sod. He got a bit of sim switch coming out on the outside curve, and that's probably like just completely ruined his lap. Now we hope that he hasn't got a dirty lap out of that. He could still run for the fourth and fifth lap, but just in front of him is Aerox Bobby. AMS Merckx with the fastest lap of the 2:05.5, like you said. Wonder if he'll make an improvement. I'm a little bit spoilt for choice in terms of who to keep an eye on for this lobby, because we're not seeing the likes of Mellish or RoadRunner or Commando or Bowkett in this lobby, but I think there's probably a good handful of people here we should expect to see in a lobby. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, I think there's a couple. I think Spectre and Bobby. I'd quite like to go on board with Spectre, actually. TUS Spectre is a really neat driver. We spoke about it last week. He had quite a quiet performance, but that's it's quite a good thing in a race. But I really like riding on board with him. He tends to braking is his strong point. Is actually quite difficult to overtake because he's so good at braking. So hopefully that comes across in the race today, and I expect him to do quite well today actually, because this is a heavy braking circuit, getting on the power cleanly, and away we go. So
the thing is, it's like
I'm quite looking forward to it.
Speculate as to where we think most of the action's going to be on this track, as far as lunges, overtaking attempts, and the battles. But the truth is, like, every corner here is like a danger zone. Like if as you said, like someone such as Spectre, he may not be under the same amount of pressure because he just seems so efficient on the brakes. Like he knows that even if he brakes 10 feet early, he knows to immediately lift up on it and then reapply the brakes again without causing any just shaky behaviour from the car. Whereas other people can be very quick to panic if their braking isn't quite on point, and that often leads to people overshooting it, braking too late. And if you do it on one of these corners, you're either hitting a wall or going out into the grass, which is just going to be so costly. And then you've got to try and rejoin the track.
Yeah.
The track itself is quite narrow, despite how large the track actually is. So we could see side by side all circuit round, but lunge material, obviously everyone's looking at that hairpin. I'm just really fascinated to see how different the racing lines may be compared to what everyone's trying to do in qualifying. Do you think it will differ a lot?
I think pressure is going to be a key factor tonight. Like we said, in qualifying, this is quite a nice track to try and hit your braking points. But as soon as you've got someone behind you, or you're trying to chase someone down, you're under pressure, those braking points, or the zone that you can brake in, suddenly becomes a lot narrower and difficult to hit, and that sort of thing. And because of that, actually during the race, it's quite a difficult circuit to race. So it's easy to qualify on, but difficult to race, because when you're under pressure, those zones are smaller. If you miss one, you're going to lose speed all the way down the next straight. And there's two real overtaking opportunities for me coming into this hairpin that we're on board with now. And actually, if you're clever, you probably won't overtake into that hairpin. Yes, it's the biggest stop. More opportunity, one of the opportunities to gain time, especially if you are good on the brakes, get the speed into this next right-hander, because actually this one's a difficult one to brake for, because you can take a wide line and brake late, or you can dive on the inside. And I think actually that's going to be the corner that we see different lines on, John, because there are two different lines there. In hot lap, they're pretty similar on pace. In the race, it's going to be the people with racing nous with experience defending on that corner who pick the right line. Typically, it's going to be somewhere in the middle, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, as you say, with that turn in particular, it's just over 90 degrees, isn't it? So, if you do happen to be on the inside of that turn, whoever's on the outside, they're kind of buggered, because they've really got a long way to go around. So.
Yeah, there's grip on the inside, and if you are on the outside on that right-hander, yes, you're on the inside for the left-hander, but you could bet your bottom dollar that whoever's on the right-hand side is going to squeeze you up against that curb, and as soon as or in any car, but especially a race car, as we see Spectre go sideways coming out of the last corner. Um, Especially in a race car, as soon as the suspension, because it's so stiff, all these cars are stiffly sprung.
Mm.
As soon as the suspension starts bobbling up and down, you lose that tyre contact with the road, and they will light up the rear tyres, and it's game over from there. The other person will comfortably drive round the outside, and then they even have the inside line for the next corner. So that's where I can see moves being made up the inside of that right hander after the hairpin, side by side through the double kink left, possibly over a bit of a curb. There's some cones on the outside that we might see flying, and then the car on the right hand side of the track has the inside for that sort of awkward right hander with the bumpy curb on the outside, and it is completely game over if you get on that curb. So I really hope we see some side by side action in that section.
Yeah, me too. We've come to the end of the qualifying, for this lobby at least. We're not too sure how the rest are standing, and the best we were seeing so far was from AMS Merckx. He managed to get a low 205, it was a .360, and I think the next person behind him, I'm pretty sure, I think that was AMS Ballistic, his teammate, with a 205.4. So we know that 204s are possible, but I suppose this is a track that it can be similar to Road Atlanta in the respect that if you're really not to grips with the braking zones and how best to coast around a lot of these corners, especially like turn 1 itself, that requires a lot of coasting if you want to make the most of it, and depending on the run you get out of it, that could be the difference of like 3 attempts alone, compared to like
definitely
just like an average attempt at that corner. So it's interesting to see that no one managed to punch in the 204 here, but we have heard from people in the chat that we see RoadRunner, apparently he got a 204.7, Commando 204.7, Mellish a 205.5. However, he may have got a faster one by the end of that qualifying session. Cammy got a 205.9. Aerox Nismo got a 206.1. Aerox Merck a 206.1 as well. So it may end up being the same as Road Atlanta. In fact, like there could be quite a disparity between pole position and 16th, and I suppose that's a good thing for all the people who aren't, they're not in that upper echelon. They're not under the same type of pressure, or they don't have the same prestige as people like Bowkett, Commando, RoadRunner. But I suppose it could mean that if there's such a massive difference in the pace in qualifying and all these people come together, it just makes me a little bit apprehensive as to race 2. We have that reverse grid. We always know the first couple of laps can get a little bit messy. Everyone's trying to budge up to make what spots they can, and we saw it last week, the fact that we effectively had 2 safety stops, didn't we? Because one person had to quit, one person had to take the pit, and then come the second lap when they were going to start again, someone else had a crash. So, and there's a lot of people who were doing similar times for Road Atlanta, funny enough, whereas here, I think it may end up being a much bigger stretch. I'm not too sure.
It makes you apprehensive. It makes me excited, John. I'm looking forward to the second race because exactly, yeah, because it's going to be about people who take the opportunity. If there's a big difference in pace, so the top guys and who'll be starting last in that second race, and the guys who sort of towards the back of the grid in the first race, so they'll be starting pole. They'll be keen to defend their position, keep their top 5 spot, or however high up the grid they are. But for the guys coming through the grid, it's going to be all about who makes their way through traffic the quickest, who takes the opportunities at the first time. We saw this in the Daytona 24 hours when the LMP cars are making their way through the GT traffic. It's the guys who do well are the guys who make the right decision the first time, not cruise behind a car for a couple of corners, go, okay, it's safe to overtake now, off we go. The guys are going to coming through the field, they're going to have one opportunity and they're going to execute it perfectly. And I'm interested to see how the battle between RoadRunner and Commando, especially because I've just had confirmation, John, of the qualifying times, and you said they both had a 0.7. It was even closer than that. So RoadRunner had a 204.764, Commando 204.772, so 8 thousandths of a second across a 2-minute lap, which is that's pretty close. That's a couple of paper, sort of thick, 60 GSM piece of paper between them. So maybe not even that much. Couple of cigarettes.
That really drives it home compared to Road Atlanta. That was barely over a minute per lap. Whereas here, it must be covering like at least 4 miles for this track possibly, and yet for them to be so close, I really wish we could have watched both of their ghosts almost identical, as if it was a Forza RC ghost race, and we just see how similar or different their lines were to come to such close times. That's absolutely insane. I was wondering, Zermatt, if you fancy giving these guys a little tour. You can maybe give us a few laps around Sebring and from there maybe, I don't know, just talk us through certain corners where you think there's like good positions to hang on the curb, where you should be approaching them, something like that, because everyone's starting to fall into this craze of your videos for tuning as well as track guides, so it's all hitting off, so why not do it on a live show?
I'm really up for that, John. I guess we sort of had to set up a lobby and go from there. I think it just got disconnected. If you go ahead and set up the lobby, and I
think that way I'll be able to just put it on spectate mode and we can just hop on board the car. If anyone does have any particular questions about this track, be it just typical trivia or tips from Zermatt himself on how to get that extra few tenths in this section or that section, please throw them in the comments below, be it for YouTube or on Twitch or Mixer. I understand that our YouTube has been a little bit shoddy at the moment, but we're hoping that it will stabilise as time goes on. Ali reassured us that always the start of streams can sometimes be a little bit shaky, so we're hoping that by the time we get to race 1 everything will be pretty smooth.
Have you seen in the chat, John, that Sloths let us know that rumour has it Bowkett has got pole again at 204.6, and I hope that is the case, because last week he really showed a turn of pace, and like you said, it was unfortunate. Traction control off the start line really sort of hindered his progress, but maybe he's learned from that. Commando and RoadRunner starting just behind him, really close time. Not the ideal people you want behind you, but I'm confident for Bowkett. It seems like he's put in the work this week, and is consistent. He's definitely put the practice in. Can he stay ahead of those two guys, John? What do you think? I asked you this last week. I asked you right at the beginning of the race, and you almost didn't have time to answer. There's no excuses this time now. What are your predictions at the end of lap 1? How do you think things are going to look?
Right, so let's go off of our fantasy right now. That it is Bowkett who has definitely got the pole once again. For starters, that's just fantastic. Because it just really shows how much he's turned it up from this time last year. He was so impressive in the Forza RC, but for now, for him consistently putting himself up there, not just on the same level as the guys, but for qualification where you've got 4 running, that's for him to be beating everyone else is just sterling. So if he starts in first, I really think he would have learned the error of his ways, and I think I'm not going to say he's going to run away with it, a bit like what RoadRunner and Mitch started doing in race 1 at Road Atlanta last week, but I do think he could genuinely hold on to the lead. And not only that, I'd put it on him that Commando will be the one to put the most amount of pressure on him. That may be a bit controversial because I think the one person who's probably got the most amount of experience at Sebring when it comes to like GT racing is probably RoadRunner, just down to the fact that the amount of times he's turned up at the Tour endurance events. But we just know what Commando's like, that he can just be so disgustingly rapid when the computers actually just, you know, stop, enabling him to just stay connected to a race. So yeah, I'm really putting it on Bowkett. How about you?
I'm actually going to completely disagree with you. I think there's going to be a huge incident. I think none of them are going to be in the top 3 at the end of the first lap, just because the hairpin that I'm just about to come up to in a second, it is just danger zone. You know, anything can happen on the first lap going into this hairpin. Commander could hit the back of RoadRunner and they could take Bowkett off together. It's so unpredictable, and then they're going to be so close coming out of the hairpin that, you know, we've got it all over again in the right-hander that we talked about earlier, the overtaking opportunity. So it's impossible to call, John. It's impossible to call.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's just, there's something about community league racing which makes it so damn hard to really like place your bets on who's going to walk away and who's going to survive, because everyone's got the opportunity to stand out. And like, let's be honest, when we got a league that's being broadcasted as well, I think there's a lot of people who typically wouldn't be racing then want to kind of put on a show. They want to get that screen time, they want people talking about them during the race, after the race, they want to get props from their teammates, and that often leads to a lot of risky moves, a lot of questionable dives, a lot of contact. And I think we did see from last week that the majority of people are very clean. There was some questionable lawn mowing at Road Atlanta. I don't think people are going to get away with that this time. Like, the only place you could really do that is at the, like, coming out of that hairpin. You could try and bulldoze the grass, but I think that's just such a blatant kind of like dodgy move to do that I don't think anyone would really want to risk running that. So I like to think it's going to be a lot cleaner. I'm still going to hold it on Bowkett. Like, I'm believing in Bowkett. If he's got pole, then I want to see him do himself the justice that he lost out on last week. So last week you gave me predictions, and I did put it on. I think it was Mitch or RoadRunner. I ended up being right, but I also felt bad at the same time because Bowkett lost his chance before it even started. So I don't know. How many turns do you think it is, like, out of lap 1 before we could expect to see everyone just falling into line and then like things start getting smooth? Like, is it going to be 3 turns, 4 turns, 5 turns, or is it going to be going into the second lap?
I think it's going to be so the section I'm on right now, this sort of overtaking opportunity, I think I'll try that tight line a little bit sort of late on the brake. So I think it's going to be coming out of this right-hander that I'm just about to go round, sort of the awkward right-hander. If you hit the inside curb here, you're buggered. If you go on the outside curb, you can get away with it, but it's not ideal. After this is where they're going to fall into line, because it's impossible to go through this fast section side by side, really. Like, if you do, you're just going to lose so much time, and you're going to lose touch of the people in front of you. So I think if they're sensible, they'll fall into line by this point in the track, John. So
that's a really good point.
Think about
it comes back to us talking, like, after that hairpin, you have that like short little rest bend, but then after that like 100-degree turn, it is then impossible to really try and go side by side at full pace, isn't it? You're at a massive disadvantage, because obviously then you're putting yourself at a really dangerous threat from anyone behind you. Like from turn 5 onwards, essentially, if you're going side by side, you could lose out possibly 2 spots around 1 turn just because of how slow you have to go, like the far way round. But You know, it looks like you're a bit warmed up here. You're hooking up turn one pretty good. Why don't you give us a talk through?
Oh, I don't know about that, as you
was on the
say. I
limit.
clip the grass.
Why don't you go give us a bit of live commentary through your lap right now?
I can certainly do that, John. So you've given it to me right on a straight, so there isn't too much to talk about this one. Other than, if you're following a car up here, you're jostling for position. You know, you're going to go on the inside. You're going to be dummying into the outside. And, you know, you're possibly going to be braking on this inside line here. So it's going to be really, really difficult to judge. And that's when people will run over that grass on the left-hand side there. The aim of this sort of second little kink straight, if you like, is to keep it as straight as possible, you know, make the car flow. And here's the difficult break, to brake on the 200 metre mark. Possibly a bit late there, so a tiny bit before, sort of readjust for next lap. Do not touch the inside there or there. Don't run wide into those cones because it's going to slow down. This is a difficult one. There's a couple of different lines here. Don't hit the inside curb. It's imperative to get a good run out of it because you're going to lose time all the way down this straight, and actually this is quite a good opportunity for people to dive. If you're on the inside slowing down, you can take this inside line here, jostle people out of the way and run them wide actually, because they've got to yield, and then they compromise all the way until this sort of second to last corner. Now comes the pressure cooker straight. I'm sure everyone's been there. You're on a good lap, you know, you're 2 tenths up or 3 tenths up or whatever, and you're thinking, where do I brake? Don't muck up the braking. And it's different in every car. Just before that white line, before the kink on the right hand side, a couple of different lines. You can take it really close, like I've just done there. Wait to get on the power and see if you can keep it clean. I didn't quite make it, I don't think, there. Or you can go wide in and get a straighter exit. It depends what kind of car you're in. In this, I'd personally probably take the tight line, but if you're in a sort of a power car, then the wide line, that's slightly wide on the first corner. The wide line's definitely one to look at. Getting through this sort of first sec, imperative you don't get that curb on the inside on the left. You could do it on the right, although it upsettles the car, and as we've seen there, it's really difficult to control, and you just go into this endless slide. I'm surprised I didn't sim twitch there, to be honest with you. But you can cut the grass on the right hand side, so you get a better exit, better entry line into the left hander onto this back straight. But didn't quite work out for me there. This one, better if you don't get on the curb. As you said, you can run over that left hand grass, not too much. You will get penalty, will be frowned upon. The stewards will be looking at you, going, is he doing that regularly? You know, what's going on with him? And then we're into this sort of overtaking section again. So. Try not to get on the curb on the inside, because if you do, I kind of want to demonstrate it next lap. Actually, if you do, you're gonna spin, or you're gonna unsettle the car. So it's difficult to go side by side there. Like we said, the person on the left hand side of the track is going to be compromised. So we'll see if anyone does get into that situation, John. So going to this section though, don't clip the grass on the inside. See, that's what pressure does to you in front of a live stream. So this one's an interesting one actually, because you can take more of the road on the left hand side than you think you can over the white line on the left hand side, and then cut back to get a straighter exit onto the straight, which is key actually. Especially if you're going to overtake someone, you know, if you're pressuring them, they're not going to be taking that line, and that's your opportunity to pounce into the last corner.
And as you said, that with that penultimate corner,
across the line we go.
That back straight, like you can really get like 2 wheels well over them curbs, can't you? And then just like straight line your exit, which when I was trying to run like some laps in this car, like, I was finding that it felt just so alien to try and approach the corner like that, because you think you're going to drive dirty, but it's not.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and I guess while the guys are doing their practice and while they're tuning the cars, you know, they're training their minds as well. This is a mind game and a muscle memory game as much as anything. So, you know, you've got to think that once you've done it once, I can do that again, and I'm going to do it really well, and you know, that's going to be my line from now on. So the guys will have practiced that before the race. If they've done any practice races with collisions on, then they certainly would have done that as well. So it's interesting one. It's that's actually something I want to talk about, is people's different sort of preparation styles, because I know people that prepare for races in completely different ways. Some people get into their own sort of little mindset and don't talk to anyone. Some people are joking around before the race, and you see it in modern day sports, outside of eSports. Usain Bolt is someone who springs to mind, doing his jokey dances before 100-meter final. Goes and sets a world record, no problem. He's having a chat with the guy next to him just beforehand. So I don't know about you, John, but I know a couple of the guys like Commando. He goes into his zone. He doesn't speak to anyone. He's ready for business. Whereas even Lage and a couple of the other guys are joking about and try not to take things so seriously. I don't know how sort of your preparation style changes, John, sort of for each race. Are you quite jokey, or do you go into concentration zone and serious mode?
I think for me, when it comes to like a qualifying session, if I was in this league right now, I would definitely just be putting everyone on mute. I would not be listening to anyone. I wouldn't be there talking. I'd just be holding my breath for 5 laps straight, and then just hoping that I'd put out a good lap. And then for some reason, when it comes to the race, I feel like I can completely relax, because that the race is just as much about what everyone else does as opposed to yourself. So I feel like I remember when I first started racing with the guys at JSR, it's like everyone is kind of joking around, they're swearing at each other, calling each other out, and yet it kind of brought the best out of us. I suppose for some people it really helps to be like super relaxed, whereas for others, like you said with Commando, like he'll usually go dead silent, and I think it's just because he really needs to dedicate that focus into what he's doing. And for all we know, we have no idea what some of these players, like what it's like for them. Like, have they got other people in the room with them? Have they got kids running around? Like, how much are they really having to concentrate just with the game that's in front of them, as opposed to the rest of life that happens behind them? So yeah,
that's a massive point.
Yeah.
Like sometimes I have a partner sat next to me on the sofa, and even if it's not an important race, if it's just mucking about on one of the JSR sort of open lobbies or whatever it may be, even if they're not saying anything, they're completely minding their own business, I can't see them, something like that, you can just feel the pressure emitting from that person. So I mean, I know we keep talking about Commando like this, but he's got a few young kids. They might, and he's got a cat that I know this. He mentions it quite a lot. That not likes to nibble at his feet while he's racing. I couldn't imagine a more distracting environment. So hats off to the guy.
Let's have a bit of a confession time. Like, even when we were trying to test streams ourselves, you had your own cat turned off your Xbox. So imagine what it's like for someone with Commando. He's got a cat and he's got 5 kids that are constantly running around. And when you have that in the back of your mind, you think, like, man, that's all the more reason to respect someone who's in that situation. Like, no wonder why he does get mad if he makes a mistake, because like he hasn't exactly got his own sanctuary. I'm sure many players who are in this league at the moment, they do have their own comforts. They've got their own room. No one's disturbing them. But for other people, that's just not quite the case. So I'm exactly the same as you, Zermatt. Like, even if I have my wife next to me, like, I just instinctively see it as if like I'm distracted and I don't like, and then she gives me that evil look like, I'm not doing anything wrong, I'm supporting you. And then I'm like, but and then
but can you leave still?
The excuses come out. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly that. I want you to be there, but at the same time, just go away.
To love me from afar, just for 2 hours. But
yeah, exactly that. But this is the pressure these guys are under.
Exactly. So, well, we are in the A lobby now. We've got Neon. We're just going with Neon. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name after last week because I butchered it.
I think that's wise.
But,
I think you should try and get
maybe later,
just once.
Maybe after race 1. But
okay.
It seems like it's getting a bit busy now. We've got 9 of the guys in, and really happy to see that Mellish is here. I think he's probably done himself a lot better for qualifying this time compared to last week. So we should probably be seeing him start probably mid-pack at the very least. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it's like 5th or 6th position, and then it'll be playing.
Yeah, I was going to say something around there. I think he's 5th or 6th, although there's not. Actually, maybe 6 or 7. I had a quick look at the times. There's not many people in the low 205s. Obviously, we've got the 3 guys that we know of in the 204s. Then we've got a couple of 0.1s, and then it's Mellish and a whole host of people in the like 205, 6, 7, 9, that sort of thing. So obviously, the top guys have managed to extract that time in either from the tune or racing under qualifying under pressure in the 5 laps, so just managed to hook it up. But there's a whole host of people in that 205, the high 205s, and that it's going to be really, really key for the guys who last week were on the cusp. Maybe they were 17th and they dropped into B lobby. Like you said, there's a couple of people away this week, but a couple of people who joined using last week as their drop round. This is a massive opportunity to gain those points over sort of where you'd normally be. If you can sneak into A lobby, you can sneak a couple of positions this week. That could be the difference. Your whole season could be built on a good Sebring weekend.
Absolutely.
So
there'll be a bit of pressure.
Yeah, we'll have to see who sneaks in.
Make sure that this and the next 6 weeks they do not miss a single one, and they don't miss it up at all. But as you said, especially with Mitch not being here, that really opens up a lot of opportunities for other players who otherwise may not be able to ever touch a podium in the whole series. So it's going to be very interesting to see how people capitalise on it. If you don't mind, Zermatt, I'm just going to pop away from the mic for a moment, and I'll be back shortly. I'm pretty sure the race will be on probably within the next 5 or 10 minutes, but we did imagine about possibly bringing someone into the booth, possibly pre-race, someone who could go have a recap of how things went last week. I'm not too sure if you have anyone in mind that you want to take with you, but if you do, become the MC Maestro.
Yeah, I mean, we could consider having a Mellish in the lobby. I'll see if I can invite him in quickly. That would be really good to get his insight on how qualifying went. So, don't know if you guys watching the stream have any questions for me while sort of John stepped away from the mic that I can answer. Sort of mainly looking at the Twitch chat at the minute. So, give it over to me, and I can sort of do my best to answer them, whether it's about the track or the car. I think we've got a few issues setting up the lobby. I think there's going to be another one set up in a minute, which we'll be able to jump into quickly. As for the race, I'm really looking forward to sort of Bowkett and RoadRunner and Commando, and actually how that first lap unfolds, because he's going to be nervous. He had the lead at the start line last week, but traction control bogged him down. Really interesting to see. Yes, we are going to be streaming a lobby. Really interesting to see how his start goes, if he's still using traction control, because if the start was that bad last week, either he needs to look at his first gear because it was way too long last week, or he needs to turn traction off. We know he's capable of driving without traction because he do it all season in the FRC, but I'm excited to see, because he's going to be under pressure. Mellish. Hello, how are you, sir?
Could be better. Yourself?
Yeah, no, I'm okay. We saw the time. You're live in the stream at the minute, Mellish, so no pressure. Please don't swear, like they say in the BBC.
I won't.
We saw the time. Tell us, how did your qualifying go? Walk us through how your laps went, because there's only 5 of them, 4 flying laps.
Yeah, or I'll do a really good job of kind of making a really infuriating structure when it comes to qualifying. because it kind of puts you on the spot like straight as you go over the start-finish line into lap 2. I was running 204s consistently in practice, and I just couldn't even reach them. I dirted my last 2 laps, extending over the white line, the new track limits, coming into the last lap. So that kind of ruined my race, well, ruined my last qualification lap before it even started. So yeah, I'm kind of disappointed a little bit.
Yeah, no,
that's still a lobby.
understandable.
So, yeah,
I think
I was
probably
just looking
starting sort of. Okay.
Sorry, go.
I was going to say
I
you're
was-
probably starting sort of 6th or it's the delay in the
Sixth.
mic, isn't it? It's brilliant. 6th or 7th, I think. I don't know if you can sort of clarify that.
Somewhere, yeah. I'm in the top 10. I know that much. I was just looking at the point standings from the last round, and it looks like me, Tico, AMS Tico, I don't know how you pronounce it, and Jular are all on the same points. So from 4th to 6th, there's kind of that's
Yes,
kind
it's
of
interesting because Jular isn't racing this week, is he? So
so he's
you know,
going to lose a
really-
bunch of points.
Yeah, there is a drop round, but yeah,
Okay.
he's going to be under pressure. What I wanted to ask, Mellish, is me and John sort of spoke about this last week, but how do you approach qualifying? Do you go, you know, balls out from the start, I've got to get my quickest lap, I'm capable of running, you know, mid 204s, or do you try and put in that banker lap and then, you know, get faster and faster throughout the session, or what's your approach?
It's kind of like I feel that if you can put a banking lap in the first 3 or 2 even, then the rest is really just a bonus. You see how far you can push it and see how lucky you can get. I think it's a mixture of both. But the fact is, when you don't get that banking lap, then the pressure increases and the more mistakes start to fly out of your controller. So if you don't nail it pretty early on, it gets harder and harder to nail it, even just to get a banking lap in, which is kind of my story. I kind of saw the times that you said on the stream. That a couple of people did a 0.1. I could see that, but I just you could, when you see the time, when you know it's there, it's the most difficult part. It's just to
Yeah, it's
digest the fact that-
infuriating, actually, isn't it? And we talked
Yeah, a little
about sort of the pressure aspect of Sebring being completely different from Road Atlanta last week, where, you know, if you make one mistake at Road Atlanta, you're out of sequence. Here you've got time to think about the next corner, which is almost worse when you're under pressure, because those braking zones get smaller and smaller. So anyway, good stuff, Mellish. Thanks for joining us in the booth for a few minutes. We just joined the lobby, so we'll let you go and compose and you know, get into your race zone, and best of luck for the you know, next couple of races. Look forward to riding on board with you.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, guys. Thank you very much. Bye bye.
Welcome back, John.
Yes, I didn't want to, you know, I thought I'd just be fly on the wall there, because you were in mid-flow of conversation. I thought Mellish was bringing up really great points there. Like, he was even able to give us a breakdown of what his little troubles were with the track, and it's nice to see that he's on like a higher spirit following what happened last week. As you pointed out, Jular's not here, so that means that's one less person that Mellish needs to worry about. He can just get on with the race, and especially starting like in like the top half of the pack. I think it's just going to be an easy job for him in race 1, as long as he doesn't get caught up in any just really ridiculous collisions. But you're asking for it. You're saying that something big is going to happen. There is going to be a lot of tussling around.
I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to happen. I'm struggling to sort of play out a scenario where there isn't some sort of incident on the first lap. I don't know why. I don't hope that anyone's race is ruined because of that.
I could definitely see it at turn 2. Like, I feel like when I think people always assume their hairpin as being like the one corner of death on this track, but I think that's just down to the experience they have on like public lobbies, because everyone just uses the next car in front of them as a brake. But I feel like turn 2 happens to catch a lot of people off. It's a very small like braking window, because I think you want to hit it like just after the first marker on the right hand side, and if you're a bit late on that, it's so easy just to then extend off into the grass. And I feel like we've got 16 guys here who, in their own right, they deserve to be here and able to be Like it's effectively like the best that we're going to get out of everyone who's in this series, but that doesn't mean that everyone's immune from mistakes. So you know what? I think you're changing my mind now. I think I'm going to put it on corner 2 that we're going to see drama.
Yeah, I think it's a good point. Corner 2. I hadn't thought of that. I thought it was going to be all about the hairpin, all about the next section. But actually, there's another contributor towards the corner 2 mayhem, and that's if these guys have practiced where to brake for the first corner. It's not a massive braking zone, but if they. And again, where they qualify completely changes that as well. If, Mellish might be expecting to qualify 2nd or 3rd or 4th, he may have practiced where to brake for the first corner up there, and now he's down in 6th, 7th or 8th. So there's a difference there. Everyone's going to be different speed coming out of that first corner. The guys at the back are probably going to be able to judge that a little bit better because, like you say, they can use the car in front as a sort of braking marker, a moving marker, if you like. But actually, yeah, turn 2 is going to be really interesting. And of course, it's actually quite wide going into turn 2. I think you can just about fit 3 cars down the straight, but there's no way you can fit. Well, you certainly can't fit 3. You just about go through with 2 cars through that section side by side with a bit of grass on, here and there, taking a bit of liberty. But I'm really excited actually for turn 2. You've bigged it up for me, John. I can't wait.
I think we've got a compound effect going on between us now because what's getting it for me? You're talking about turn 1. I feel like. You're right. There is actually a massive difference in terms of like the speed that you can carry through that corner if you don't get the braking on point. Let's just say, like for anyone who doesn't use the braking line, you're effectively on the home straight. You're keeping the car right hugged up to the outside of that pit wall, and in the moment, like I'd say, like 5 feet before you come to the end of that pit wall, you're then quickly pumping on like the brake. You're trying to coast like a good 30 or 40 feet to try and get 2 wheels over the line as you wrap it around. And then it's the corner's just long enough that you have to guess it, like if you're flooring it at the right time or not. Because if you do it too soon, then guess what? You're going off into the grass and you could lose like 3 positions at a time because it's very costly to try and rejoin the track. But if you hit it too soon, then you may hit the inside wall. So And just like you said there, what happens to someone like Mellish or anyone else who they know that they're faster than, say, like the other 10 people that are around them? They're taking the corner completely different. They may be braking 10 feet later. They may be getting on the gas 10 feet earlier. And then that leading up into turn 2, people could be approaching that at completely different speeds. And then depending on where exactly they brake, if someone's on the inside for turn 2, I think they actually have to brake a heck of a lot more to wrap the car around, because if you touch the curbs on there, then your car is just... You're about to commit to an automotive rodeo, as you may like to call it. And then you put everyone at risk. So.
Yeah, there is a sort of suicide line to overtake on the inside of the second corner as we just start the countdown into the race, and we sort of run through the grid with Bowkett on pole. Tico, who Mellish mentioned as his main rival in the championship standings, in 4th place. That's a great qualifying for him, and someone who I sort of picked out as Spectre down in 10th. But going back to that second corner, there's a death line on the inside where you hook up your inside tyre on the curb. Going to be interesting to see if anyone uses that. John, do you want to take us through the start? I guess if we sort of pick a mid-pack person to ride on board with, and away we go.
Yeah, let's put ourselves.
And I think we've got to restart.
Yeah. We saw it in round 1. Why not do it in round 2? Why the hell not? Someone's probably got their settings wrong.
At least they're consistent.
Yes. Someone's left TCS on when they don't want it, or vice versa. I don't know. It always seems to come down to this, and I've noticed that some people do actually change their settings between qualifying and racing, which I find incredibly interesting. Have you ever done that?
You know what? Yes, and there was one of the cars in season, I forget if it was season 1 or 2 in the FRC, but It was season 2. It was an Audi RS6 around Catalonia GP, and for qualifying you needed sim steering, you needed simulation steering for that hairpin at the end of the track, that hairpin chicane at the end of the track, because otherwise you just didn't get the turn speed and you couldn't change direction. But during the race, it was suicide to have sim steering on, and that was when it was 1 lap qualifying, so it really was all or nothing. But other than that, I would never ever change my my settings in between the races. I think this time we should be all set to go straight from the off.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we'll definitely put it on someone in 5th or 6th position. I think that might be Ridge or so, just waiting for the damn Forza screen to load. Here we're off. Who's in 5th position is Ballistic. No, we'll take it Merckx in 6th position. I think he's probably got a very good view as for how turn 1's going to go. Whoa, someone going very deep.
Oh, and Ridge goes flying in.
Yeah, he rebounded a little bit of Tico, who's now a member of AMS. I think that was following his performance last week. And we've got Mellish here running that beautiful Castrol livery. And he's got a little bit of tussle. But he's going to try and wrap it round the outside.
Oh, and there's the mistake. Who's that off? It's Bowkett. Oh no!
Oh my god!
Bowkett's had a terrible.
Did I commentate? Did I give him commentator's curse from like 10 minutes in advance? That is terrible. Let's see what position he's in right now. He's in last. He's in 16th position. Oh, absolutely gutted for him. I wish we could have caught that on camera. If anyone saw it in the distance in the Twitch or YouTube chats, please put a comment down. But it seemed as if maybe just coming out of turn 3 there, maybe he just had a bit of bump and grind on someone and it ricocheted him off. But well, that puts my prediction down the pan, doesn't it?
Just slightly.
Just slightly.
If you come and ride back with Merckx, John, we're sliding up the inside of TUS Spectrum. We've got Mellish and Tiku. Mellish has just got past Tiku, who, as we mentioned, are the two sort of rivals behind the front pack. And there's a bit of a sort of jostle going on through here, which is said as the section you really don't want to go sideways through if you're doing yourself a favour, and actually Merckx has sort of dropped back there, and he's still trying to go up the road, which is sort of suicide going onto the straight. And we've got a car off to the left. Not quite sure who that is. Is that Ballistic in the red car up there? Is it? I think it is. And Mellish goes into 4th place, which is fantastic for him, chasing down Aerox Ridge as we go around the final corner for the first time. John, opening lap.
Well, you called it.
What do we see there?
Summarise for us. There's going to be carnage, and we certainly saw some like immediately after turn 2. Like Ridge was a bit cheeky at turn 1. He effectively used Tico as a cushion there, but there wasn't much in terms of carnage. But geez, turns 2 and 3 it's completely changed the story of tonight. Bowkett is well out of contention for top points, and we can hope that he'll get himself up to the middle of the pack by lap 11. But this is like the reverse story for Mellish though. Like last week, he was really unlucky. He kept getting tangled up in things. He didn't have the strongest qualifying, and whereas now, he's only got Ridge, who's in 3rd place, like 30 feet in front of him. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that goes ahead. Commando in 2nd. I think he's trying to hunt down RoadRunner, who's got a fairly comfortable lead by, what do you reckon that is, about 60 or 70 feet, if not a little bit more? It's obviously changing.
Yeah, if not more. I think that's the level that these guys have, although it's quite a long race, it's almost a done race. They're going to be matching each other, not playing it silly. 1st and 2nd is better than wiping each other out. So I think probably the action is further down the field, and I'm riding on board with Bowkett because he's going to be the man on the move. Remember, he's the fastest guy in qualifying, and now it's his job to scythe through the traffic. And at the minute we're 24 feet behind EVR Matt, who is the first target, the first prey for Bowkett in this great sort of flex tape livery. Actually, it's got some really nice sort of red streaks and red wheels that goes really really well, and neon's off, as you say. Let's definitely stick to neon. I was just about to sort of try and pronounce that then, but it's difficult. Now, what's Bowkett going to do here? Is he just going to scythe up the inside? It's risky. If he's slightly too late on the brakes here, he's going to wipe both neon and EVR Matt out. Sensible. sensible. I like that. Really, really good driving from Bowkett there, actually. Oh, really close. But he's made up a place and he's right behind Neon going over the start-finish straight. So we'll see if he picks him off in the first couple of corners. But that was really composed, really, really good on the brakes. He read the situation and he's dived into the first corner. Opportunistic. Is he going to make it stick? He's probably caught Neon a little bit off guard, and I think he's probably going to make this happen into the second corner, John.
Yeah, he needs his braking on point, and it looks like he's doing it. Like Neon's still there, he takes a bit of grass because Bowkett didn't give him much room on the exit there. But Bokett's made really good work out of this, considering that, you know, come that hairpin, he was in 16th position. Like 1 lap later, or a lap and a half, he's already climbed up 5 or 6 spots. So who knows? Maybe I was a bit too soon to write him off. A little bit of contact from Traumatic. I don't think his braking was on point there. Gave Bowkett a bit of a lunge, but fortunately Bowkett was already on the exit of that turn, so I don't think it's compromised his position too much. It just means he's got that extra 100 feet worth of work to do to catch up to Spectre, who's in 8th position.
If we go a little bit further back down the grid, I think probably right on with Aerox Merc and AMS Renter. They're battling it out and you know, sharing some paint. There's quite a few you know, bits of black on the white bit of our car here, and you know, bits of white on the black bit of Renter's car. So we've got Cammy just in front as well, who's right up behind EVR Matt, who's dropped down at the field a little bit. This is exciting. It's such a flowing sort of section, this one, that people are going to get the best run onto the straight are going to be the ones who benefit. And actually, surprisingly, everyone's got roughly a similar run there, which is interesting. Maybe a couple of sort of a mini track cut, but we won't think too harshly of that.
Yeah, I felt like Renter...
There'll be some action into the last corner.
It seemed like Renter was a little bit generous in that penultimate corner, but it wasn't too bad. He didn't make much of a difference there, but it does make me question the tuning setups. I wonder if some people have gone with 0 aero for front and rear, and some are just having a bit of front aero, because like these guys are really tussled up together. Like Cammy's all the way down in 13th. We would have expected him to be a little bit higher, but I suppose it does speak a lot about the track. You know, we spent plenty of time talking about that there are opportunities all over the place. Cammy, sim twitch of the decade there, and he somehow saved it. So good work by him, but that's allowed EVR Matt to probably claw another 20 feet ahead of him. Whoever's in 16th, they seem to be really out of luck. That's AMS Compachi. I say that, Rento, he tries to brake on our current car right now. Oh, sorry, my camera accidentally slips over there. It seems as if Renter managed to hold it around the outside of the hairpin there. He's giving Merck a run for his money. Now Merck, he's on the inside here. It's going to play to his advantage coming into this 100-degree turn. And yeah, as you can see, Renter just didn't have a chance to really challenge that. It's just such a long way around that turn that by the time he reaches the exit, Merck was clearly ahead, and not only that, Merck's now got a good 20 feet on him. I wonder what action's going on next.
Yeah, I was looking back from Merck's car, then exactly what I said in qualifying happened. Render got on the curb on the inside and he just couldn't hold the speed. The back end of the car was unsettled and he ended up losing the place. So I'm really happy how that played out. What have we got further through the field? Neon's right behind Traumatic in sort of the battle for 10th position, which seems to be sort of one of the closest, and then Ballistic is also just behind Tico. So Mellish is sort of driven away from this battle for 5th, and is sort of caught up to the back of Ridge. So
Spectre went really wide in the last turn there. Bowkett capitalised on it by taking a tighter line. That puts Bowkett up into 7th position, I believe, right now. No, he's in 8th. He's still got quite a bit of work to do, but we're just pretty much hitting like the halfway point of the race. So it is possible for him to possibly get up to 5th position. I think Mellish, he's got too much of a gap now. Even though he's going to be battling with Aerox Ridge, I don't think Bokett's going to be able to really close down that distance, not with the traffic that he's got in front of him.
No, I think the next the man on the move at the minute, or trying to be on the move, is AMS Ballistic in 6th place we're 70 feet behind Tico going into the hairpin, but Ballistic seems much stronger on the brakes. I don't know if it's just the sort of close-in effect, but we seem to gain sort of 10 feet every time we go on the brakes, and interested to see if he sort of can cruise up to the back of Tico, because Tico's no slouch. Let's not sort of paint a wrong picture here. These guys are really quite quick drivers. As Ballistic runs slightly wide there to get off the throttle, and that's allowed Tico away. But trying to get into the mindset of these guys, this is all about who makes least mistakes now. When you're this closely matched with another driver, and you're at this sort of 100-foot range, if you like, it's who can maintain the speed, almost not who can go faster. It's another little sim switch from Ballistic, but we've taken that wide line into the second last corner, maybe a little bit of a cut on the inside, but we've got a really good run onto the back straight. So's Tico though, but it's about who can maintain the speed rather than go faster. It's about the least mistakes at this sort of level, rather than trying to take that crazy line, that once in a lifetime line through say the last corner, which actually both these guys have taken that different line. Like I said in qualifying, Ballistic on the inside, Tico taking that wide line, and we've ended up exactly the same distance away. So it's interesting to see, but we'll keep an eye on this battle for sixth and have a look sort of further down the grid. I think probably 10th, 11th and 12th.
I hate to contest our camera change right now, because I noticed on the map that Mellish is literally on the heels of Ridge. I believe they were going side by side into lap 6, and now they're working.
Yeah, let's get on it.
Now they're working their way down. They're about 300 feet away from their hairpin, and it seems like it's only a matter of time until Mellish is going to find an opening and then just shove the nose of this Castrol painted Trofeo in the way. And I'm really happy to see Mellish. Like, I think he's already made up for himself here. Fingers crossed he doesn't damage the car. There's no crazy crashes. He can just finish in a strong position. I think he will get third position by the end of this race, because let's be honest here, Ridge is under incredible amounts of pressure. He's just trying to hold Mellish off, and he's on the inside line here. He gets a half-decent exit, but so does Mellish. And obviously, Mellish has got the draft, so he can afford to be quite relaxed when it comes to some of these corners. I think it's really going to come down to this section here. How does Ridge take the brake in? He doesn't get his wheels over the curb, unlike Mellish. He does, closes down an extra 10 feet. Here we go, Ridge, he's trying to take the straighter line. He takes the inside of the curb, and he's got a good run there, and that holds Mellish off for at least like another 30 seconds. It just means if Ridge doesn't nail this last corner, Mellish can really threaten him coming into turn 1.
We see that inside line from Mellish again. He's trying to just poke his nose in, just let Ridge know that he's there. And actually there was a bit of a touch on that. Forza physics depicts that Ridge would have slowed down a little bit from that touch, even though it sort of wouldn't sort of affect him too much. John, I've just noticed that Commando has run a 2:04.4 in the race, which is 3/10 quicker than he ran in qualifying, which is pretty spectacular. It's the fastest lap of the race by quite a distance, so we should check at some point after we sort of cut away from this battle how far behind Commando is to RoadRunner. I might have a quick look while you stay on board with these guys.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm more than up for that, because on the map it seems like they've managed to maintain that same distance. And whoa, Mellish has gone for a crazy lunge. I'm not too sure if that was intentional or he just got his braking off point, but yeah, he's let off on the accelerator, he's let Ridge go back past. It was obviously not his intention to actually bust through in the hairpin there, but it's good to see Mellish. He's playing by the sportsman, but we had some questionable moves by RoadRunner last week, whereby he contacted JSR Campbell and he didn't give way. So nice to see a good bit of sportsmanship here. However, it does mean that Ridge has been gifted third place yet again, and not only that, he's got a 40-foot gap. You can just about see Commando in the distance there. Him and RoadRunner.
They're so far ahead, aren't they?
RoadRunner, they're effectively just hot lapping, aren't they, Zermatt? Like, they've got their own space. It's just down to he can do the fastest laps time and time again, all the way to the finish line.
There's quite a few battles down the field which I'm going to keep an eye on, John. We seem to be in pairs at the minute. So obviously we've got Mellish and Aerox Ridge battling out for third. The battle of a fifth is between Tico and Ballistic still, and they're still around that sort of 60, 70 feet mark, as actually Tico misses his braking point a little bit into the last corner. And then you've got Bowkett trying to catch up to the... Actually, he's on the inside of Merckx right now. I don't know if you want to cut to Bowkett, but they're side by side going into the first corner. So it's going to be interesting if Bowkett tries to go around the outside, which he is trying to do.
Oh, that is very confident.
He can stick on. This is going to be interesting. How do you play this? Do you try and go deep and trust the guy on the inside to not go deep as well, which is sort of what happened, but we've got away with it. Merckx missing his braking point, or trying to push Bowkett wide, however you want to look at it there. But actually,
Merckx was trying to re-establish himself for turn 2. You could tell that he broke a bit and then let off again, but then he came off worse just from that little bit of contact. It seemed as if he may have had TCS, because his car really bogged down after that slight bit of sideways action. We have AMS Ballistic right in front. And who is he behind? This AMS Tico. So it's really funny to see the AMS lot in this series, because they're quite popular when it comes to the ORL leagues, and it's nice to see that a lot of their battles are actually between each other. I really don't know how that affects their philosophy team-wise, but yeah, like Bowkett, I think he's going to make mincemeat of the pair of them. I'm sure he's going to be on the back of Ballistic at this point next lap. I just can't see Ballistic and Tico maintaining a similar type of pace when Tico's, like, even if it's unconsciously trying to run defensive, and Ballistic is trying his best not to run into the back of Tico. So, like, as we can see with Bowkett, he makes every inch of that turn coming into the back straight. Like, his front left wheel, it barely grazed the grass. And even though it looks right now as if he's really far behind 6th position, I think once we come to the infield section for lap 9, we'll really start to see him reel in.
And I think there's been a change of position. Our man Mellish, who we had in the commentary booth earlier, giving us a bit of insight into his qualifying sort of pace. Obviously not too happy he was down here. I think it was 8th that he started in the end. He's managed to get past Aerox Ridge into 3rd position. We didn't see it happen, but assume it was clean. There's been some good sort of clean racing and good sportsmanship between these two guys. As Mellish gets actually out of shape and really covers off Aerox Ridge onto the back straight there, which was interesting. These guys are really closely matched, and although Mellish has got past him, I feel this isn't the end of the battle. And this is, we talked about this last week, shifting of mindsets to attack now rather than defend, which actually for someone in Mellish's position now is really difficult, because he knows deep down in his heart he's not going to catch Commando and RoadRunner unless something catastrophic happens. We've got 2.5 more laps to go. In his mind he will be thinking, all I need to do is stay ahead of Ridge, all I need to do is that. But that's, like we said last week, it's exactly the wrong attitude to have. He needs to attack the curves, needs to attack the track, and he needs to gap back to Ridge. So interested to see how that one sort of pans out. We've got a couple other cars really close together. I think Traumatics in respect to again, we've seen quite a lot of Traumatic and Ballistic. Another one of the AMS guys sort of doing a lot of attacking.
Ballistic, he just went a little bit too wide coming into the back straight there. Bowkett, he is literally a car length or 2 behind Ballistic, so it's just as we anticipated. He would be on the heels of them after one more lap, and I think coming into the 10th lap here, Tico, he struggled a little bit on the braking there, and that's allowed Ballistic to get right up behind him, and Bowkett's there as well. I'm thinking even after turn 1, Bowkett could be putting a move here, and it's a brilliant recovery race by Bowkett. Like his race was effectively written off after 2 turns, and like it's just such horrible luck for him considering what happened last week. But he's showing a lot of resilience here, isn't he, Zermatt? Like the consistency he's got just to pick himself back up and be like, I know I'm fast in the qualifying, I've just got to do it all over again this time going around cars. I think it says a lot about him as a competitor right now for this series. Sure, the points aren't in his favour so far. This is like the 3rd race of the season, if you want to consider it or look at it that way. But he's still going to be a contender all series long, isn't he, Zermatt?
100%. Yeah, definitely. And what he's been able to do in that sort of mental reset that he's had to perform this race has been, like you said, quite incredible. And he's cruised up to the back of Ballistic and Tico, who have been sort of dropped by the pair in front of them because they've been battling this whole time. But what he's done is he's dragged AMS Mercs along with him. It's only sort of 50 feet behind him or so, but it's difficult times for Bowkett now. But what he's got to, again, like we say, he's got to concentrate on attacking, but just keep an eye on Mercs behind him. Not sure Mercs is going to try and nibble at his heels too much, but we don't have that much time left, actually. We've got 1 lap and 2.5 corners or so for Bowkett to pick through 2 cars, and actually he needs to get one of them into the last corner here, and he needs to do it in a way which it doesn't compromise him for the next lap, which he isn't going to do, because actually Ballistic's got a better run out that second to last corner. I'd be surprised actually now if Bowkett gets both of these guys, even with the pace advantage that he's got, unless they tangle, which they may well do, go into the final corner. Unless they tangle and take them each other out, then I can see it being quite difficult to get past these guys actually, and who knows, Mercs may fly through and take 5th position, but in a dreamland possibly.
The last lap now, and Bowkett, he may actually want to settle for 5th just for the reverse race coming next up, because that might play to his benefit. But one thing I have noticed coming into this last lap, Commando did cut down that gap massively. He was right behind RoadRunner coming out of turn 2. I think they had a little bit of contact and he's lost some distance now. Commando flicks on the handbrake just to get around that hairpin. But that was such a shame, because I was hoping we was going to see a real strong battle between the pair of them coming into this last lap. But it seems as if just as when we went on them with the camera, RoadRunner managed to get a bit of gap again. Mellish is still under a lot of pressure from Ridge, I can see behind as well. So it's all to play for right now. There's nothing in cement. The only person that we know is certainly not going to make any ground is the person in 16th position, which is AMS Renter. I don't know what happened to him, but he's in a very sore state. We can see on the map that he's just so far behind. He must have had some serious damage or something like that. But I think we'll keep it on Commando right now, just in case something interesting happens in the last turn, and then we'll probably flick back down the pack. Like RoadRunner, he's got about 87, no, about 90 feet right now. He would really have to mess up the last turn, like ridiculously, like watch it, and that's not the RoadRunner that we know. He's very consistent. So Commando going for a very tight line, much tighter exit, but no, the race is for RoadRunner, so well done to him. But the race isn't over yet, so we'll look back. Ridge right behind Mellish as well.
And Ridge is right behind Mellish, but I think those positions are settled. It's 6th, 7th, 8th, which actually it looks to they've sort of evened out. Bowkett has got 6th position in the end, which is a good result, a good comeback from him. Not, he'll be disappointed, but he'll be proud of himself at the same time. And really tight for 11th and 12th over the line. Neon just pipping EVR Matt to that 11th position. So well done to Neon. I just say Cammy just disappointing down in 15th. We know he's got pace. Maybe just sort of didn't quite suit him this round. But AMS Renter, we saw him in the wars earlier in the race. His car does look pretty beaten up, but unfortunately it's a 16th place for Renter this round. But what that does mean, obviously, is that he will start on pole for the second race, John.
Yeah.
What are your feelings going into to race 2?
I think you've just opened a can of worms there, because this is what makes the ORL series so damn fun to watch, let alone competing, because there is a massive strategic element to this. When you're like midway in the pack, and then you're trying to assess, okay, I've got a few laps left, am I going to try and place all my chips on the table and try and bag another couple of spots, just like what Bowkett was trying to do there on Ballistic? Or is it a case that, you know what, I'll just sit back, what's the point of me trying to fight so hard for the next few minutes when it could risk a mistake? When, you know what, I could just let off the throttle a bit, treat it as a Sunday drive, and then come the next race, I could actually stand a chance at just fighting against like 3, 4, 5 people for the first lap, and then I could run away with it. Like Renter, you know, it's a lot of poor luck for him, but the good news is he is going to be in first position. Does that mean he's going to hold first for the entire race? I doubt it, because there's just too much competition. We've seen it time and time again. With RoadRunner, he knows how to work through the field. Commando's the same. Bowkett just proved it in race 1. And I know Mellish is like on par with them as well when it comes to like the pace. Like, sure, his qualifying wasn't there, but Mellish has certainly been proving it in the Le Mans eSports series, and he held his own there. He managed to catch up to Ridge, overtake him, and then defend just consistently enough to hold him off the line. And sure, the distance was only 2 car lengths between them, but in his eyes, I think that's the biggest win he could have got. He knew that Commando and RoadRunner ran away with it, and so for him it was just about getting that podium, and that's a lot of points that come with it. I think we should have a quick look at what the previous race stats were, because it's not just Renter who's going to benefit for this starting race 2. Like Cammy, you mentioned it on the last lap. He really didn't live up to the reputation that he has. He's been a Forza player for quite some time, mainly known for doing like Tourer endurance events, I think. You may need to correct me there, Zermatt. I'm not too sure.
No, he's big into his GT. Obviously, with Whipperman Racing, with Virus and a couple of the other German guys, they put up some formidable battles. I remember one year in a Bentley GT3, they in the Daytona 24 Hours, we actually out-qualified them in a 458 Ricci competition, but the Bentley that they were driving had such good drive coming onto the banking section, they were impossible to overtake. So you're exactly right, John. Cammy, big into his endurance racing, consistent driver, but maybe the Maserati not suiting him as well as some of those cars. Maybe he's not got his setup, just how he likes it. Really, there's a lot of time to prepare for those longer races.
That's a great point, because with this. Yeah, like for him doing the Tourer endurance events, there's usually like at least 3 weeks gap. That's plenty of time to get accustomed to the car. Whereas here, you've effectively only got 6 days to really sort out your tune, and then the last day you're really trying to hammer down your pace for qualifying. And that brings me on to the lap times for this race, because you mentioned Commando getting a 204.4 in the race, which is phenomenal. We saw RoadRunner here, he got a 204.7 clean. Bowkett also managed to get a 204.4. Now, sure, it was dirty, but could you imagine anything else considering the amount of positions he had to overtake in that race? So, I'm so gutted.
Yeah, no, that's a super lap time.
I'm so gutted for Bowkett that he had that bad luck, because obviously his pace showed that he could hang with them, and we could have seen like a RoadRunner Commando Bowkett just trifecta for that entire race, but this is racing, isn't it, Zermatt? You never quite know what's going to happen, but I have to commend you. You guessed right. You knew that something was going to go down in lap 1.
Guessed?
Yeah.
No guessing involved on that. Was I can just predict the future when it comes to. No, of course I can't. Yeah, total guess, but with a little bit of predictive analysis, if you like. Some previous racing on his definitely showed me that corner 2 is difficult, and also that sort of left right later on in the track where we saw an overtake overtaking manoeuvre and one of the cars getting on the curb. That's sort of the danger zones on this track, and maybe the guys are going to be thinking about that now. The guys who made the mistakes, how do I change that for this reverse grid? Is it going to play on their minds? There's all sorts of things that they're going to be sort of thinking of as we sort of take a short break before the reverse race. Now, in the Twitch chat, we've had some names being thrown about for the race win. Race 2. I know I always do this to you, John, but I think we should, make it a tradition almost. Is John's predictions league, and we've had a couple of names. JSR Jersey and Vane have predicted that Commando is going to win. Obviously, strong link with JSR. He's with JOTA at the minute, signed for them for the Le Mans eSports series. Don't know if it's short term. I'm not sure. I have to speak to him about it. But obviously been in JSR for a long time. They're saying he's going to go for the win. But then we've got a couple other guys saying that Bowkett's going to go for the win. Interestingly, no one has picked RoadRunner. I'm not sure why that is. I don't know if you've got any light to sort of shed on why you think that is, John. Personally, I can't.
There's no reason to fool RoadRunner's capability to run from 16th all the way to first. I'm pretty sure we've seen him do it before. The only other person I've ever seen do that consistently was Rossi, who's now with Lazarus eSports, part of F4H. But RoadRunner's done that time and time again too, and him and Commando, they can definitely work all the way up to the pack. But I am going to put it on Bowkett again. I'm just going to keep on voting Bowkett, man. I want his redemption. He's starting in what position is it now?
Bowkett's in 11th.
That could really play to his favour in this race. He's got the speed, so it's just down to can he get away for the first 2 laps without an incident. But we're going to start now, so let's see what the hell happens. Where do you want to start on? Are you thinking 5th or 6th position again?
We can start slightly further down the field. See how those guys like RoadRunner and Commando sort of get through the field. And actually, RoadRunner's got past Commando straight away, or has he? There's all sorts of battling at the back. Mellish has dropped down a place. There's been a huge crash. Tico and that's going to be some serious damage there. Tico and Merckx, who we were on board with quite a lot of the time.
Everyone's very hasty.
This is chaos.
This is what I feared, especially with the reverse grid. I think everyone's in just a frantic hurry to try and get on and claim positions. And you got the likes of Mando, you got Commando, Mellish, RoadRunner, Bowkett here, who's currently in 9th position, and they're just getting thrown around like ragdolls, like Merckx, unfortunately. His car.
Neon's had an off. We've had another off as well on the inside and the outside.
Geez.
But guess who's made it through the field? Guess who we have in 9th, 10th and 11th? Bowkett, RoadRunner and Commando. I said it's going to be all about who picks their opportunities, who can stay out of trouble, and that's exactly what we've seen. And they're all in the line. Although I think we're slowing down to have a safety car.
Yeah, I was about to say I was going to be absolutely amazed if we didn't see a safety lap. Obviously, the rule is meant to be if 2 or more cars have a collision and there's damage, and then there's a safety lap. But that just seemed so painful to watch there. Because I was currently on Bowkett's car looking backwards, and I just saw that Merckx, I think he had a bit of a tussle with Mellish or someone else going around turn 1, and his car just sim twitched all the way, and he just went over 80 miles an hour into that wall, and that's game over, man. But it seems like there's 2 other people that are involved, so let's have a quick look down, see what that is. That is Tico and Kenpachi. Mellish is in 14th, so he didn't seem to do too well either. But I'm wondering how his telemetry is.
Yeah, Tico's. I'm on the damage at the minute. Tico's going to have to put. He's got a 100% sort of all-round sort of cosmetic damage. 100% steering, engine, clutch, transmission, driveline. You name it. even his front right brakes and suspension has stopped working. So it's a definite pit trip for Tico at the back of the field, and I think sort of quickly
Ken
skipping
Patches,
up to Ken Patches. Well, he's
That's what I was saying,
he's in a similar situation.
Yeah, like Mellish somehow got away
Yeah.
with it. He's managed to catch up to the back of the love train there, and the only thing he's lost out on is a bit of fuel. So so in some respects he's lucky that he didn't have that damage. But really, is he lucky? Like, these guys are going to be able to take a pit and then join the pack. Mellish is actually going to be starting the race again in a worse position. So, oh jeez, it's absolutely feel for him. It's a bit of a different story for Bowkett. He managed to jump up a few spots, but you mentioned it there. RoadRunner and Commando, just out of that chaos, they were able to pick off like 4 spots each, and yeah, this is going to make for some fun stuff from our perspective. But I'm sure there's going to be people that have just got steam blowing out of their ears right now.
I'm excited for this restart, John, because we've got the 3 quickest guys on the grid today. Actually, the 4 quickest. If you take Ridge's lap time from the last race was 2:04.8, which, you know, he was battling with Mellish a lot of the time. Mellish managed to 2:05 flat, which as we heard from him before, you know, in between qualifying and race 1 was about his pace. He could see 2:04s, but, you know, he'd be happy with a low 2:05. So we've got Ridge, Bowkett, RoadRunner and Commando, and then we've got a bit of a gap between Commando and Mellish. We've got Neon in between, which is going to hinder Mellish quite a lot. But it's these guys who I want to sort of go on board with for the start, John, if you wouldn't mind, because I'm so excited and keen to see how these guys handle the restart with each other, because, you know, usually they'd be thinking, okay, cool restart, I'm going to make up loads of places here. But actually they're battling against people of similar standard, and I think they've dropped the ball, and Commando has been left sleeping here. RoadRunner has flown away from him. Neon's got the run on Commando.
Yeah, it seems as if Commando just
I
wasn't
don't think he's going to get in there.
thinking to stay on the heels of RoadRunner there, and maybe there was a bit of miscommunication in their party chat, but it did seem like the exit of hairpin, that's when you put the pedal to the metal, as they say, and RoadRunner is right on the heels of Bowkett, he's pretty much sandwiched because he's got his teammate Ridge right in front of him. I think we're going to have to jump on board with them guys, because Commando is a bit of out of contention.
Yeah, no, let's go on board with Bowkett, because Ballistic and Ridge are going side by side into the right-hander, and sensibly Ridge has backed out of it, but Ballistic has gone wide, and they're going to end up going side by side. This is Bowkett's opportunity, because they're both going to be compromised onto the back straight, and that's played out really nicely. Ballistic's got a bit of a twitch on coming out of the corner, and Bowkett will go up the inside of him here. Not going to be enough to get Ridge, and actually Ballistic's managed to sort of stay ahead of Bowkett, a little bit less error, but he's up the inside. Ballistic's one way wide.
RoadRunner's like a shark.
Sticking his nose in, isn't he? Just trying to get involved, and we've had a spin. Merck, and I'm not sure who it was who spun, but Merck, it looks like he may well have some damage. That car's looking pretty twitchy, but we've got Ballistic right on the back of Bowkett, and RoadRunner and Merck going all side by side into the first corner. Everyone's cutting the yellow line, but we'll let them offer some good racing. So actually, Bowkett's played this really well. RoadRunner is 2 spots behind him now, trying to go around the outside of Merck, who's missed his braking point and ended up hitting RoadRunner. They're getting all twitchy over the curb and sim twitching everywhere. This is... I can't keep up, John. I can't keep up with the action.
Really had the strongman himself coming up turn 2 there. He was like, no Mercs, I'm taking the outside whether you like it or not, and I will push you if I have to. And then literally bulldozed the curb. But it makes an interesting point, because like Commando, he's left on the outside of the hairpin there. He's under pressure from Mellish and Neon. But I suppose this is the opportunity for Bowkett. If he can just grab another 2 spots by the end of this lap, RoadRunner could be in quite a bit of trouble, because this is the first 6 positions. Like, there's barely a difference between them. Cammy's in first position, so he managed to capitalise 1 spot since the start of the race. But everyone's in the wars right now. Obviously, like Commando and Mellish, they're fighting back there. But this is really going to be about if Bowkett can make big enough of a distance whilst there's enough traffic. And for all we know, he may be able to make enough points at the end of this race to actually damage RoadRunner's reputation, because as it stands, with Mitch not racing, I'm pretty sure this leaves RoadRunner as the points leader for the series. So we say that he gets a fantastic run coming into the back straight. Ballistic he's in the firing line. We saw RoadRunner do a lunge, and he's going to do it again here. He gets so close to the inside of that wall when he's braking. Then he does it again for the exit, but I think that's the benefit of him running the bumper camera. He can just react so much faster to all them tiny little shifts of orientation with his car, and next thing you know, look who's next on his target. It's Bowkett.
So you can see how RoadRunner so much later on the brakes than Bowkett was into that first corner, and he's already absolutely dropped Ballistic, and I think we're gonna. It's probably good to stay on board here with RoadRunner for a little bit, because these guys are really bunched up. Bowkett's right behind Ridge, who's stiffing the back of EVR Matt's car, and then you've got the three leaders, and our man Renter, who had a tough time last race and ended up way down because of some damage. He's in the lead. He started in the lead. He's still there, and I know we said at the beginning of the race, it's going to be difficult for him to stay there, but actually him and Spectre, they're having a good race. They're not a huge amount ahead of Traumatic, but they're holding their own. I guess it's just a matter of time before Bowkett and RoadRunner, make their way through the field to try and pressure these guys. Because if they get through this little bit of traffic, they are going to, and that's going to be quite exciting. Actually, I'm not sure how this is going to play out between Bowkett, Ridge, and EVR back, because it seems to be sort of status quo, John, to be honest with you, a couple of these guys.
I feel like there will have to be a lot of negotiation for these spots here between 6th and 4th position. As you can see, they're just all packed together nicely in a line, but it only takes one of them to get their braking off by a few feet, and then the one behind them is going to have a go, and then it's just going to be a domino effect. Like, as you can see here, RoadRunner, he's managed to close up all of that distance. Perfect run coming onto the back straight. And now Bowkett is in serious trouble. He'll have to run the trail brake of it.
RoadRunner's got Bowkett here.
Run the trail brake of his line to keep RoadRunner pinched on the inside, and I still don't think that'll be enough.
He's gone for
it.
Bowkett's gone for it, but it's not going to be enough.
It's just not enough. I think that inside line, there's something magical about it. I think the cars somehow just magically have more grip there, although, standard physics would tell you otherwise. But he jumps into the back of EVR Matt. Ridge is caught on the side. I think Bokett's chance to turn the table for points here is kind of over. He'll really have to be preying on RoadRunner to have a serious incident. In 16th position.
Oh, but he's going round the
outside. But he's got Ballistic trying to go on the inside of him. Commando's right behind as well. So we're halfway into this race, and it literally feels like we're on the first lap.
It doesn't, and actually Bokett's made that work. And if we look back from RoadRunner's car as well, Commando's going up the inside of Ballistic, and they're going to be two huge dives here. And Commando's hit the back of Bowkett, and it's all kicking off. They're all about 4 or 5 cars side by side. RoadRunner goes wider through the hairpin over that grass that we talked about, which we'll probably let him off there, because there was a bit of chaos going on in the corner as we see Ridge and EVR Matt up ahead as we have a sneaky look at a little bit of a lunge, just showing our nose, just letting Bowkett know that we're still there and we're ready to pounce at last minute, because now RoadRunner has Commando right behind him, and he hasn't had that so far this race. Commando's had a Ballistic in between him and RoadRunner the whole time, so this is pressure cooker situation for RoadRunner now, because as Ridge goes really wide into that round the left-hander into the right-hander, but managed to get it stopped on the brakes. Good sort of adjustment from him there, as we're on the sort of perfect position to watch Bowkett and RoadRunner trying to get a better run onto the back straight. But Commando now, he's got to do that shift of mindset to attack RoadRunner. He knows that he's quicker than him. He calls him up. In the first race, they were both flat track, open track, no pressure, and he was managed to catch up as RoadRunner. He loves that inside line there, John, doesn't he? Going into the last corner, he really dives in as we get a huge sim switch. Sorry, John, go on.
There seems to be something magical about the inside of that turn that RoadRunner knows and no one else does, because Bowkett doesn't take that line, Commando doesn't take that line, but for some reason he makes it work. He's able to trail brake, sim twitch, and he still makes ground on Bowkett. Commando's managed to catch back up, and EVR Matt, he's doing a fantastic job of trying to keep all these guys behind him, but it's involving him waving a lot, like side to side across the track, and I'm pretty sure that if that keeps on going for the next few laps, the likes of Ridge and Bowkett, they're going to get really frustrated, and before you know it, they'll start daring a lunge in a place that maybe they shouldn't. We can see Renter, he's still got first position, so like, props to Renter, he's really turning this into a success story for himself. And we wish we could say the same for the likes of Mellish and Bowkett though. Like Mellish has come off really poorly here. I think all of them collisions in the first 2 laps, even after the safety lap, that's put him all the way down into 12th. So points wise, he's really not in contention here. But you know, his teammates with RoadRunner, so team wise they can still wrap together a solid work, and I don't think there's any other team drivers tonight who are really going to be able to put a dent in them. Oh, Neon having a lot of contact. He's sim twitch, he's done a 360 and he's gone straight into the wall. That was following contact with Merck coming out of, I think it was turn 10 there. But that allows Mellish to get right on the back of Merck. So we can expect Mellish to be working into the top 10 by the end of this race. But for now, I think we're going to have to jump a bit further up the back, aren't we?
Yeah, John, I've just been watching an absolutely cracking battle between RoadRunner and Bowkett there, and RoadRunner's actually got past Bowkett. I didn't want to interrupt you, but they spent the last 5 corners side by side. No, not your fault at all, John. They spent the last 5 corners absolutely side by side from that the corner after the hairpin, and RoadRunner's had a huge sim twitch. Bokett's going to be coming back at him, and Commando, in fact, is getting a better run than both of them. Yeah, side by side through the right-hander after the hairpin, all the way through the next section, and swapping places at every corner. It's absolutely fantastic to watch. Great respect between them, giving each other room, you know, to stay on the inside or to stay on the outside. It was really good to watch, and you know, I'm looking forward to watching that back on the replay as Ridge and RoadRunner take a few liberties on that grass verge that we sort of talked about in the little piece before the race. So interesting to see actually that they're cutting that at this stage. We've got 4 laps left to go. It's not about playing safe now. RoadRunner wants to catch up to the back of Ridge as we engine brake massively there. Be careful not to get some damage going into the hair brake there. It is quicker in these cars. It does like an engine brake, but you've got to be really careful, you know, not to get damage on this gearbox. The Spectre is going out to regain second position potentially. I just want to ride on board with them, John, because we've got a 4-car battle between Ridge, Spectre, EVR Matt and Renter, who's dropped down into 3rd position now because Traumatic has taken the lead as Renter goes wide. John, it's all kicking off again. I'm losing my breath.
Slugfest. And look at RoadRunner. He's now in contention for taking the whole lot of them on. He doesn't care if he's on bonnet cam. He's like, no guys, I can see perfectly fine from my view, and I'm going to take the lot of you. So him and Bowkett, they're going side by side. We're coming into the back straight now, and it seemed as if Renter got a fairly decent exit, so he's in contention here to get 3rd spot back. But we've got Ridge right behind him, RoadRunner right behind him, and then Bowkett right behind RoadRunner. So, it's just, this is too much.
I don't know where to look, John.
Yeah.
I'm on board with Renter at the minute, who must be absolutely kicking himself as EVR Matt is just about to lose about 6 positions if he's not careful, if he takes that wide line again, because RoadRunner's going to be straight up the inside of him there. You know, Renter is going to be absolutely kicking himself. He was, you know, 60, 70 feet ahead of anyone. Absolutely fine, you know, just soaking up the pressure, and had done for the first sort of 6-7 laps, and now he's made this mistake, and the mental fortitude that he's got to show now, you know, is huge. He, you know, comfortable in the lead, yes, defending, but comfortable. Now he's got EVR Matt, Aerox, Ridge, RoadRunner, Bowkett, Commando, Ballistic, Mellish, all right behind him. You know, he can. They're all right there in his mirror, so you know, difficult to call what's going to happen. But you know, if I had to call it, then I'd say that Renter's probably got another lap of sustaining this pressure, and then we're probably going to see a few cracks appear, John. But you know, RoadRunner still ahead of Bowkett. Commando's still there, but yeah, actually hasn't been able to capitalise on this battle ahead, which I'm surprised at, because they've lost quite a bit of time battling to the lead guys. It's not been a hot pace.
Commando's definitely had plenty of opportunities to catch up, and he's just done so here. But it seems as if every time he actually gets his nose up ready for an opportunity, something happens up ahead and it somehow knocks him off. But not physically, but I think like mentally, he's having a really hard time trying to pick his moments to join in the battle, because this is an absolute slugfest. I don't think we've seen so many cars packed together this late in a race, and the fact that we have RoadRunner and Bowkett and Commando, who have all been struggling to take on positions whilst getting tangled up with each other. I feel like we're just in the middle of Spaghetti Junction here. There's just so many cars that are constantly going backwards and forwards. Commando going for a fantastic
I completely agree with you, John.
There. His braking was on point, and
RoadRunner in front of him as well.
Bowkett has come out worse off big time. He's now in 8th position. RoadRunner's got up into 4th, and Commando could make the most of this. There's 3 laps left, sorry, and it's just this action just isn't stopping Zermatt. Like I'm not sure how much more we can analyse this. This is just racing at its best.
I'm not sure we're going to take this 3 wide into the second corner. That's for sure. As we're on the grass, braking with Commando at the minute, and there's all sorts of bumping and grinding ahead, and Commando's had to go all the way on the inside. No brakes on the grass, and this is all clumsy round here, left, right, and centre. And this track isn't wide enough for 4 people through there. So close to the wall on the left-hand side. Evie on that has somehow come back into 6th place, John. I'm not quite sure how, but
4 positions there, because everyone practically went 4 wide around one turn, which just isn't physically possible. We have Commando going side by side with Matt. They're knocking their wheels together, but somehow staying on the track, which is fantastic. Matt's in a really weak position now. Mellish has got the opportunity. If he takes the same line as Commando, he can make a jump on Matt, and it's looking like it, but he catches up on the panel of Commando, and Ridge goes for it. Oh my god!
Yeah, and Ridge is off, and Ridge is going to have some serious damage there. He's taken the sign all the way onto the track as well, so watch out for that next lap, John. There's a sign as Mellish just bulldozes Commando out of the way, and Commando is 10th, 11th. Is he back into 12th position now? I'm sure the stewards are going to have a look at that. But look how much time we've lost. I think 2 laps ago, John, 1st, 2nd, down to 8th, we're all in the same corner. And now look how far first is ahead. And it's Traumatic who has managed to gap the field because they're all fighting. Renter must really be kicking himself. Still in 3rd, though. Those cracks haven't appeared just yet. But he's got, the man on the move. Mr. Michael Thomas Coyne, Williams Roadrunner, sat behind him. We said this last week. I'm not sure. There's no one else I'd sort of prefer to be ahead of. Really, well, there are a lot of people I prefer to be ahead of. Roadrunner isn't the one you want behind you, rather. So it's only a matter of time for me, John, before Renter succumbs to the pressure of Roadrunner here. So. A couple of laps left.
It really is possible for Roadrunner not just to get on Renter, but he could challenge Spectre too. Like we saw his pace in qualifying, we saw it in race 1. Like the difference of pace that he has on these 2 drivers is incredible. But it's just so ridiculous what's happened in this race. Like if you look at the map right now, we've got so many people that are spread out at the back of the pack because they've either sim-twitched and T-totaled the car, or someone else has crashed them off. We saw it earlier with Mellish making contact with Commando, which I sure wasn't intentional, but still it left Commando going all the way out to the grass, trying to rejoin the track, and that cost him 4 positions. It's just, man, this is like Russian roulette. It's not even a race anymore. It's just about, can you actually get to the finish line in one piece now? It's insane. We say that, and we've got RoadRunner. He is right on the heels of Renter. Renter must be sweating it right now. I really hope he's got some scuff grips on his controller, otherwise his thumbs are slipping on that steering stick. I'm telling you, because RoadRunner, he's waiting for the opportunity, and I think it's going to happen into the last turn. Let's see how he takes this turn, making every inch of the track. He's right on the heels of Renter, and we know that
Yeah, he had to let out the
we
throttle there,
know that RoadRunner is more than happy to take a lunge from this position. Renter will have to hug the inside of going here to stand a chance. Oh no!
Oh, RoadRunner! He's clicked the inside. That's a massive crash. You said it. You said he loved the inside line, John, but he's loved the inside line a little bit too much there. And guess who he's taken
Bowkett.
with him? So we've got 100% damage on RoadRunner's car. Bowkett is wounded. Now, does he pit? Is he going to pit, or is he going to try and make it round? I think he's got to pit.
They've both got to pit.
There's a couple of them who've got to pit.
Make it around this. So that's a race done for them two. That is tragic. But I'll tell you what that does do. That allows Commando to have a potential kind of reclamation. See if he can pounce on Ballistic and the other few ahead of him. Because he could definitely get some points now, knowing that Bowkett and RoadRunner, they are going to finish in 15th and 16th. There's no question about it. And that's gutting to see, because we thought there was going to be a fantastic last lap with RoadRunner taking on Renter. But Renter, he come off very lucky.
I'm going to stick my neck out on the line. I think Mellish is the new championship leader.
Oh, really? Well, he is in 5th position right now, isn't he? And he's got an opportunity. He's still got another 6 turns that he can make on Matt. Now, Matt is a very decent driver. He knows how to hold his line, and he's proved that in this race when having 6 cars right behind him. Question is, Mellish is incredibly hungry, and he's probably a bit stressed out as well by the fact that he was knocked back so many positions after a safety lap in this race. So all Mellish needs to do is close down another 20 feet, and then he knows in that last turn it's all or nothing. He's going to stick his neck in. That bonnet is going to hit the back of my, and he's potentially going to do it right now. We're coming into the back straight. Look how close he is. That's insane. Like, we can only hope that neither of them have a lag punch. Matt is trying to block the inside as blatantly as possible.
He's taking that extreme inside line to another level.
But he better hug that inside.
Hope he doesn't hit the inside like
because
RoadRunner
Mellish
did.
could potentially hold it around the outside, and it looks like he's going to do it.
Oh, Matt's got a twin shot.
It's just about...
Mellish has got to floor it now and hope.
Oh,
He's just got to hope. And has he done it? Yeah, I think he's done it,
Well
John.
done, Mellish. That is how you take it around the
4th.
outside.
I think that was textbook from Mellish, absolutely textbook, and I can't wait to sort of chat to him further about that, possibly after the race or the beginning of next week. But what a race, John! I'm not sure how to sum that up. We had Renter leading from the start, from pole position until lap 6 or 7, where we didn't catch it on camera, but he must have made a mistake, which left traumatic to quite run away from the field. Spectre called him out at the beginning of the first race. I thought actually we didn't talk about him at all in the first race. Very quiet, but he got a 2nd position here. Again, we didn't talk about him much, but that's a great drive from Spectre. So I'm really chuffed for him, and he's come away with sort of 2 sets of good points there. So good stuff from Spectre. Mellish, we saw him there. Great overtake around the last corner. I think my word for Mellish in that race would be tenacious. He was stuck down in 9th, 10th for a lot of the race, wasn't he, John? And he climbed back up to 4th place, which is great.
Yeah, I don't think
Matt,
I don't think you
again. Go on, John. Go.
Said it better about Mellish. Like, there's no way after lap 2 there we could have expected him climbing all the way back up to 5th. But I suppose that just says a lot about this race. There is just. We thought we saw the best of what could possibly happen in the series last week, but our world has just been turned inside out. Our reality is upside down here. Like the fact that RoadRunner, man, like, I've got to hand it to him. Like, he made some magnificent moves on that last turn, hanging it on the inside, but he got too damn eager, trying to put the pressure on Renter, who, when you think about it, was actually a previous teammate in AMS. So, oh man, and just think of Bowkett there. Like, how bad was his luck? Race 1, he has contact. Race 2, he's having to fight against RoadRunner. RoadRunner gets far ahead. RoadRunner crashes. Bowkett goes into him. It's just you can't write this stuff. And I can't wait to see how the points do add up, because you made a really good point there that Mellish could end up being number one for this round. If we have race 1 and 2 put together points wise, he could be standing on top like RoadRunner and Bowkett. I don't know, they may end up like mid-pack at best now. Commando's probably doing pretty well as well, but just, I don't know. Do we want to bring anyone in the booth? Do you think anyone will want to be in the booth after that race? What are you thinking, Zermatt?
I think, to be honest with you, a lot of the drivers are probably sat back having a cool glass of iced water, or you know, something a little bit stronger, possibly after racing in that. To be honest, John, I know I certainly would be if I'd just been, you know, under pressure for the last 25 minutes or so, soaking up from RoadRunner or Bowkett or Commando or Mellish or whoever was, you know, on the move at the time. So I think probably, you know, let's have a think about it and see if we can get a couple of the guys who are involved in the race, you know, in between qualifying and the first race next week, to look back on this manic event, John, because I think, to be honest with you, they're probably completely spent. You so I know I'm getting that way.
You talk about some of them drinking a glass of ice cold water. I bet some of them are already running an ice cold bath right now. Like, it's just, how tense could you possibly be throughout this race? It was just like there was no resting point for anyone. If you're a renter, you're in first position, and for the longest time you're holding off a fantastic defensive game. If you were someone like Commando, you're constantly doing a yo-yo of catching up to the pack, getting knocked back, fighting again. And then if you're Bowkett, you're the one knowing that, oh God, I have to catch up points again. I ruined it in week 1, it's happened again in week 2. And then RoadRunner, who we were seeing, he worked up the pack all the way from 16th position. He was going to pull off a fantastic race, which definitely would have put him first for this round. And then just a little bit of Forza hitboxes sent him right to the tombstone. And like, I don't know, like, this is a situation where like you either laugh or cry, and I just hope they're all laughing their asses off, because this race there was just too much to call. Like, I'm gutted that I didn't get to catch it on camera with RoadRunner overtaking Bowkett, but it's a good sign, isn't it, Zermatt? The fact that there's just so much action up and down the pack, that ORL have really pulled it off with this car. They've got the builds just right, that even in qualifying you may see a big disparity in lap times, but ultimately when you put them collisions on, you have them cars on the track, who knows what can happen. And I don't think anyone could have guessed how it went tonight.
Yeah, that's absolutely right, John. And I think, you know, as we come to the end of tonight's stream, we start to recover a little bit, and the heart rates start to drop, and we can think about what's happened and take a look forward to next week. Long Beach full. We've seen some close racing here at Sebring, where some of the time there's some walls, but they're not that close to the edge of the track. That, you know, Long Beach is going to be chaos. The second, I'm going to call it now. We're going to call it second corneritis. We saw it. We saw it last week going into the kink. We saw it this week on corner 2 and 3, that little section there. The roundabout or the bus stop or whatever you want to call it at Long Beach. I mean, it is going to be chaos. These guys are going to have to crawl around it in the first lap, and you know there's going to be some people, you know, trying their luck to ramp up the inside. And I can tell you right now, you don't want to be doing that, because you will end up on the side of your car. So I'm going to call it now. Corner 2 is going to be difficult next week, and I'm super looking forward to Long Beach.
Yeah, well, you called it turn 2. Like, are you giving it an official nickname? Do you want to call it now so everyone can get familiar with it? And like, for me, it's just, I don't know. That's like the carousel bus stop extravaganza. Like, I know that we're going to see cars get shafted into the tyre barriers. If not, they're going to park on top of the hedges. And that's just turn 2. Like, Long Beach it's a dreadful place to try and drive fast around, because there's a lot of corners which are off camber, and their walls are just so damn unforgiving. We saw it in the V8 supercars a couple of years back in Forza 6, and judging by how this race went, judging by how last week went,
we know that, like, I'm going to call it now. I think half the pack are going to have to go in the pits at Long Beach. I'm just going to say it right now. and I do not envy anyone who is racing, regardless of whether you're in A lobby, B lobby, C lobby. Like, you are in for a tough time, so definitely get some rest tonight. Tomorrow, I'd say practice as soon as possible. Get your tunes set up, make your car reliable, because you need a lot of give with your suspension with the amount of damn bumps there are on Long Beach. And yeah, if you do get crashed as well and you need to go in the pit, it's not like Sebring where you're in the pits for 25 seconds. You will be down at least one lap, won't you, if you have to take the pit on Long Beach?
We could see a scenario where people, you know, if there's a crash at the front of the pack and they go into the pits, they could come out a lap down but still in the pack, and that's going to make for some really interesting racing. And you know, if the blue flags come out and people start to, you know, play, you know, sportsmanship rather than gamesmanship. So I'm really looking forward to that, John. So brilliant. Well, I mean, I guess we should probably leave it there for tonight, John. We've talked quite a lot after the race, although there was so much to dissect and think about, and you know, well worth doing a bit of a recap next week when we start up the stream again at sort of 8 o'clock UK time, sharpish for the qualifying. But yeah, great to have you in the commentary booth again, John. Really enjoyed it tonight, and yeah, great stuff.
It's a pleasure as always, Matt. I think we've really hit the jackpot here from a spectator's standpoint to be able to watch these events, and obviously we're really happy to see everyone in the chat getting active, supporting us as well. Our setups aren't exactly 100% right now, but we're working on it with every week. We hope to have more overlays. It was great to see that we had it on Twitch as well as YouTube and Mixer tonight. So definitely look out for the recordings, because I think for the next 7 days I'm just going to sit back with a pina colada and try and dissect what the hell happened every lap for this event. But definitely implore everyone to stay active on Twitter. If you've made any clips on Twitch, do tag myself and Zermatt. I'm JSR John Official. Zermatt is TPR Zermatt. Tag YMTV as well, and we'll definitely retweet. We'll give you the love as well. But as Matt said, it will be 8 o'clock GMT time next Thursday. So thanks for watching, everyone. Have a fantastic night, and we'll see you on the track next week.
Cheers, guys. See you next week.